Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is July 16th, 2025. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, the XRP price chart, the altcoin market, and we take a look over there at the United States stock market, which is set to open up in about 30 minutes. It looks like it'll open to the upside or slightly flat. At least the Russell's up 17 points. We'll take a look over there at any type of crypto news going on out there to kick off our day, and any type of macro market news. Of course, we'll peek over there at gold and the US dollar currency index. If you missed Markets in the Morning last week, check it out. I know how to play an intro now. we are coming up on 6 years of having this YouTube channel, and I have now figured out how to play my intro during the live stream. So I hope that you guys are doing great. Thank you all for tuning in. YouTube is kind of messing up a little bit on this end. I noticed that Bonkers for XRP had gifted 20 memberships before we started. That's incredible. Somebody else had 2, but it's fallen out of here. If you guys can mention who gave 20 at the very beginning, I want to give them a shout out too, but YouTube dropped that, so it doesn't show that for me anymore. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Of course, when we got together last Wednesday, we were just sitting here at like 108. When every time when I start a new Markets in the Morning, I would just kind of modify the intro. Just change the date, change the price of Bitcoin, the price of XRP, and the price of gold. And then we, oh wait, here we go. It was Chieftain Blackbeard. Yes, BTW saves the day. Thank you, brother. That was very generous of you. When we got together last week, we were at, $108,000. We're talking about, man, just waiting for a trigger to happen, something to push this thing out. Expecting maybe like a $7,000 daily candle. It was about $10,000. I mean, it was like $8,000 or $9,000 over the course of like 20 hours. But in total, I think it was like $15,000 from 108 to 220, 123. So huge move happening over there for Bitcoin. We got the breakout. Of course, it's been just the discussion that we've been having in all the videos and everything like that. It's probably like this pause on Bitcoin. It's kind of a mystery on the altcoins on how they're going to get out of here when you have things like Total, right? We're kind of waiting for Total now to get the big breakout there. That's probably going to be the triggering moment for the altcoin market to start ripping and roaring up in there. And it has been just kind of a mixed bag in there. So kind of glad I just said kind of a mystery in the altcoins, because you've had Ethereum, of course, going higher. We have other stuff kind of going higher, but then you have other stuff just paused out. So it's kind of like a mixed bag right now, while we're kind of in this temporary, in my opinion, moment of indecision here happening for Bitcoin. And I think it's really just a back test before we go into a parabolic advance. So I've been working 10 days straight. I haven't had a day off yet. So, we'll kind of just fly through this, because it's really just going to be a lot of repeating the things that we've already talked about, and then just kind of hanging out in the chat really for this Markets in the Morning. I don't have really a whole lot of new stuff to present to you in regards to what's going on in the charts, so that you couldn't have otherwise gotten over there in the videos that I've been publishing. But just kind of waiting for the really, really exciting part of this market. It's bittersweet. It's both, because I think it's coming, but then it's like, all right, that's the end, but it's what we all come here for. So, all right, there you go. Obviously, this is my perspective. This has been my thesis as we traverse through this whole thing, right? This was the thesis of what was going on in the market, rather than, freaking out and thinking this is entering a bear. This has been the thesis all along, so I'm just going to maintain that thesis. And of course, I've tried to present those things here on the YouTube channel to say, hey, you know what? The only time you're going to see the altcoins go absolutely ballistic is going to be when you're seeing either an expansion happen over here for Bitcoin, where it's, completely definitively breaking out into a new all-time high, and that's it, or when we're getting a top. And we already know, while the altcoin market in general was not that impressive, this was where we saw the big move happen for XRP. So XRP kind of tells us a story that was the expansion for Bitcoin and for the crypto market, and that will be going into the peak phase if we see the altcoin market move into another leg, especially if you see XRP move into another leg. That would imply that we are actually entering the peak form of the market. So it still seems likely we're probably going to see a lot of the same stuff we saw back in 2021, where the majority of assets are just kind of retraces. And you really just kind of see that because there's such a mix out there in the market. We have XRP up at the highs, you have Binance Coin, you have Solana, you have Tron, but then everything else is just kind of mid-pack or low. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see a lot of what we saw back in 2021, and that looking to specific assets to see if they're the ones that are telling the story for when a market cycle peak can come in. And of course, we'll be monitoring. Do I not have? I know I had that here. There you go. Bitcoin dominance as well to see, you know, when it shifts through and just starts shattering all these levels to imply that we're approaching a peak too. But I think the big exciting time is still way ahead of us for now. And of course, we haven't seen XRP break out just yet. It's still kind of a mystery for me. Here's what I think is going to happen, right? We could just waddle out throughout here. And I think what's just going to end up happening is it's going to be the things that we typically see where, you know, everybody kind of keeps getting excited on like grinds higher that end up happening. But we know that like when real breakouts happen, they just go like that, right? And so any price action happening here, just because it's like kind of grinding up in here, I don't think it has any meaning. I think you could still just do all this kind of stuff in here, and that it'll be like Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. We're all just minding our own business. Something happens that shoots it out of there, and it shoots total out at the exact same time. So I'm not so focused on like really paying attention to what's happening by like, oh, we're shifting up 1 penny. We're shifting up 1 penny. That must mean we're about to break out. I view it as that like when it happens, it's going to be like some big 20-cent move or something like that ends up coming. And it's like a definitive breakout and it totally busts out. Until then, of course, you know, when we sit here, I just think, all right, you know, that's still possible that we just kind of stall out in here still, just kind of patiently waiting. But it's, you know, we're of course focusing in and narrowing in on a very small time frame. I think, you know, 2 weeks from now, we're just not even caring about this anymore. We're talking about, you know, what's happening much higher. So very exciting. You know, when we got together last week, it just wasn't anything like this, right? Where were we at last week? We were down here at 230. Yeah, I changed the title. It was 232 when we got together last week. So here we are back at 296, back into the retracement levels, back to prices we haven't seen since March when Trump announced a crypto strategic reserve, including XRP, which got backtracked. But we don't need it, right? Like that in general, you just don't need it. What needs to happen? You need to have Bitcoin doing it. You need to have the macro situation of the crypto market doing what it needs to be doing. And so it's exciting. It's exciting, you know, just where we are. And, you know, for me, it's kind of like feeling like, you know, when we're done with markets in the morning, I'm probably going to take the day off from looking at charts. Tomorrow, there's a chance there's no video tomorrow because my thoughts are, the second this thing breaks out, we enter no sleep season. And then it becomes the whole 18 hours a day. You're sucked in, you know, you can't take your eyes off of it. You're watching it nonstop. And that in and of itself is extremely exhausting. And then, of course, it creates situations where if you're not getting rest, you can start not thinking clearly, right? So those will be important things to think about too. If we enter that period of excitement, like the main thing I'm focusing on is that I'm not going to get caught up in it. Will it be exciting? Yeah, it'll be very exciting. It's like this vindication of like getting through everything. But you know, really trying to lock in on being thoughtful and meticulous of what's happening in the market. So I can't tell how many people are here in the chat. YouTube has been totally messing up. I'm showing 2389. What are y'all showing? 2432 now. That's not what I expected. I didn't expect that. I expected 4,000 today. So if we're already 10 minutes into this thing, we're only at 2,400. What does that mean? We're all good, baby. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. So, all right, let's stop messing around. Let's take a look at what's going on in the market. All right, Bitcoin 118,645, just kind of teetering around in here. Again, the bigger picture of everything going on. XRP teetering around over here in the retracement levels. My thoughts are when it breaks, it's out, and just like even in this circumstance right here of this range, guys, that's really how it did it. Right, it got back to that, got to that 4.236 extension, and that was the extent of that ending up happening. I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes the case here for this range right now. And so do that in two different ways. Use that as, hey, baby, 4.236 extension. That's like that $8, $9, $10 level. But that's probably it. So, all right. There you go. Bitcoin dominance. I think it's trying to shuffle down still, right? Let's see. There you go. You got another little dip happening here right now. Total, of course, this is the, I think this will obviously, I think this is going to trigger at the exact same time as the XRP price chart. I talked about that, I think, in yesterday's video. Everything is a blur. You have the confluence of both of them, right? You have the total market cap at the level for the big breakout, where you have XRP back at the retraces for the breakout. Yeah, like you couldn't have it any more perfect than that right there at that time. Ethereum, of course, has still just continued to shift up in here. We'll see if Ethereum has enough juice to go on like a massive bull run in a very short amount of time, because that's what I think we have. I think we probably have maybe 2 months or less. As for the Russell, nothing big with the Russell here. It's stalled on in here. That could just be an ABC happening right in here. But I also think as well that it's going to be something like with the Russell, that it's going to be like this. And it's gonna probably be aggressive, and it'll be the crypto market going with it at the same time, XRP going with it at the same time. But then up in here, we'll start watching out for everything. So I think, like rather than kind of going with the approach of being like, I don't know, like it's a interesting position where I'm at, because like, my thoughts are trying to communicate it very clearly. I think we're going to go in for the top of Bitcoin, but also showing that that's the most exciting time for the altcoin market is when you do that. So that's what everybody comes here for everything to pump and go parabolic and everything like that. And I try to show you the phases of where that occurs. But then at the same time, also communicating it being like, but then it's the end. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's the way I'm viewing it. And I'm also having to try to think a lot about like how I want to approach that when it comes to YouTube videos and when it comes to social media. Because when we were getting back to retraces back in 2024, the crowd just didn't want to hear it. So I think maybe I'll probably just be more subtle when it comes to things like Twitter or X. But yeah, anyway. Thinking out loud. Gold. All right, so here's an interesting one, right? So like with gold, we obviously brought this up too, right? This is the same thing, right? Same exact stuff happening in here for this long range from gold that took place from 2011 all the way to 2024, 13 years to get there. What does it do? It goes back above the high, it ABC corrects, and then it does all this stuff and then finally breaks out of here, right? So we can kind of get an idea. Let me do this. I'll put you on. There we go. Give you an idea, right? This is still a form of ABC, right? But more of an expanded flat ABC. I think we'll probably just do ABC, maybe get as low as 112, but kind of having an idea, you're right, you're still just stalled out. You go through the actual real breakout happening in here, right? And then there's the breakout, there's the stall, and then it continues marching up. So I think this is just the beginning for the crypto market in regards to the parabolic advance. And things like with XRP, oh, come on. things with XRP. Of course, my hope is that we end up somewhere in the $8, $9, $10 area. But there will be, something I'm looking for when the time comes, if we get a lot closer, if that number has to change, if it has to go lower or if it has to go higher. And my thoughts are that we'll see some type of breakout come in here. I'm uncertain where the initial breakout will actually end up going to before it makes its first big pause. But what you typically will get at the ending of everything on all of these is like what we just saw happen over here on gold, right? So we got real nitpicky here on gold to do a wave count in here and then find the last final 5 waves that ended up coming in here. Now, if you recall for Bitcoin, what's the thing I keep talking about, right? I keep talking about 5 waves showing up in here and that being the final advance for Bitcoin. The story will be the same over here for XRP as well. That my guess will be that when we're kind of nearing that end, that final parabolic advance, that you will see that end up showing up in there too. At least I sure hope so, that we will actually end up seeing that happen. So if that, if we get our initial big breakout to come in here, we stall and then go for our final parabolic advance of 5 waves. And I bet you even within that one, you'll find 5 waves isolated within there too, right? That would be a little bit more difficult to nitpick them in there, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it gets even tighter again for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But yeah, we'll try counting that stuff as we get closer to it if that ends up playing out in there. But those will be kind of the things I'm looking for as we start narrowing in on time and get a lot closer. So yeah, there you go. I think we're really close. Really close. Okay. Yeah. And so anyway, that's why we're showing this on there on gold, right? The parabolic advance happens there and it ends with the 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the 5th one. And that's how the ending ends up coming in here. So, okay. Dollar. So we'll get back. We'll just touch on this really quick. I don't really bring this up in the YouTube videos. This is more just something that gets brought up here in the live streams that we talked about this. Maybe we've brought it up 2 weeks. Maybe we've only brought it up 1 week. I can't really recall. That, of course, the move that we saw happening over here after going to a 702 retrace and then rejecting the fall that we've seen in here is very equivalent to the fall that we actually ended up seeing back here in 2020. But the bull run for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market and the altcoin market never actually even kicked off until we got to the low. And you can add on a total of 3, right? You can see we got to the bottom right here. For the dollar, so the move was already over, and it was the entire run up happening in here while the dollar is just double bottoming in here, right? So you could see in here, right, the exact same thing has happened in here on the dollar, and we were speculating about this over the last week or two. It's like, well, it took us getting all the way to the bottom for the crypto market to actually end up taking off in here, and just kind of interesting to see. Once again, we've got movement happening here in the altcoin market. You got the breadth opening up here in the altcoin market as we once again do the same thing. So again, this was short-lived. This was the parabolic advance. This was the craziness, the fun. Everything was great. Laser eyes, diamond hands. We're all going to make it. Wall Street bets. Singing Kumbaya, holding hands, fist pumping. Come on, pump it up. Boop, 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 boop. Everybody's friends. And then, it all happened in there. So hopefully we're working on that too. So, all right, moving on over to financial news. Wholesale inflation measure was unchanged in June. So what are they talking about? CPI came in yesterday. Where's PPI? There we go. PPI. Boom. PPI beat expectations, right? Producer price index, expectation of 0.2% month over month came in at 0.0. Core producer price index, 2.7 year over year expectation came in at 2.6. So what did we have last? We were at 3.2 year over year on the last one. There you go. Expected. There you go. Anyway, okay. Inflation stuff's down. Cool. All right, Treasury yield slide after cooler than expected wholesale inflation report. S&P 500 futures rise after solid bank earnings. Tame inflation data. Goldman Sachs top estimates as traders generate 840 million more revenue than expected. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang wants to sell more advanced chips to China after H20 ban is lifted. Yeah, I bet he does. He wants to make money, right? All right. Trump cuts deal to end Republican revolt on crypto bills. Bitcoin. Okay, so I think that's going to be voted on again today. Right? Is that our catalyst? Who knows? Surprise catalyst, right? Everybody's talking about like constantly talking about, is Jerome Powell going to get fired, right? It's a weird time right now, guys. I'm telling you, there could be some catalyst that shows up that's going to catch this market by surprise. Trump cuts deal to end Republican revolt on crypto bills. Bitcoin ETF inflow show institutions double down on Bitcoin at 116K. Bitcoin OG Willy Woo has sold most of his Bitcoin. Here's why. Cross-chain swaps moved 21 billion in illicit funds, up 200% in 2 years. Clarity Act isn't perfect, but it's the bill U.S. Congress must pass this summer. How did they trade using crypto using ChatGPT and Grok? OKX joins Paxos USDG network. Stablecoin push intensifies. Price predictions: SPX, DXY, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, BNB, Sol, Doge, ADA, and Hype. I bet that's one of their most viewed ones. That's what everybody wants to know. FOMO, lax rules are fueling the crypto crime super cycle. 5 countries where crypto is surprisingly tax-free in 2025. You know what I'm loving the most about what's going on in the market right now? What I'm really loving the most, and it's like got me like super optimistic about, oh, hey, we're at 299. At my altcoin bags is where the meme coins at, dude? Right? It's like all meme coins are just dead. It's like nobody cares. It's like this is what you want, right? Like the attention economy isn't focused over there on that this time around. So it's all focused on the bigger names. So that's cool. Oh my gosh, dude, Bonkers just said, "Where's the frog?" We're 22 minutes in and I haven't played it. Dude. Happy Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my It is Wednesday.
All right. Hi. All right. So here's the cool thing too. Like, just obviously there's a core group of people who watch markets in the morning all the time, regardless of what's going on in the market conditions. And our typical viewership ranges between 1,800 to 2,400. And we have metrics that kind of tell us when the market is getting overheated because we can see it in the concurrent viewership numbers happening in here. What's fascinating is that we've been looking for this ABC to show up, and then we get a full-blown breakout happening this week. You've got XRP back at the retraces, and you still are at 3,000 concurrent viewers on the button at a half an hour into this thing. So for those who are like trying to follow social metrics and things like that, these are one of those things that we watch too. We have very clear trending. It gives us a real good idea of where the crowd is at. As for the people who are kind of fly by night, the people who leave, then when the market gets all exciting, they all come back. It's like a big wave that they all come back in. And that wave isn't here yet. 3,000 is certainly not overheated. So that's definitely good, right? It's when we're eclipsing 5,000, approaching 6,000, where we start saying, dang, this is getting pretty overheated. So just a little note that I'd share there with you guys is an extra little alpha thing that we have seen happen over and over again in this Markets in the Morning segment that we do on Wednesdays. So, all right, there you go. That's really what's going on in the markets. Not a whole lot different from what we've talked about in the videos. Bitcoin just seems kind of paused. XRP is back over here at the retracement levels. Feels like we're waiting for an additional trigger to hit. That will be the expansionary phase for parabolas to get total to bust out, to get XRP to bust out and get the show moving. Once the show starts getting moving, right, on this channel, we'll just be real locked in on thinking, we have potentially only weeks left in all of this. It's going to be real exciting. Somebody asked earlier, Bangarang said, I've been here since 2019. Any advice to avoid round trip? Right. So the hard part, of course, is trying to call the top, right? What's likely going to happen, right? You're either going to call the top too early or you're going to call the top too late, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. You kind of got to nail it like super perfect, and everybody puts a tremendous amount of pressure on themselves to perfectly nail the top. Here's the cold, hard reality. You are not going to nail the top. How about that? Not going to happen. So once you could take that pressure off of yourself and forgive yourself ahead of time to say, you know what, I'm not going to nail the top. It's going to be really, really hard. Especially if you get something like what Tron did. Right? What Tron did. It was just, how long was this? Was this one day? This one daily candle, right? On December 3rd, it goes from 22 cents to 44 cents. I remember that looking over here on the side of the screen. It was up 100% that day. And then boom, straight back down. So you would have had to, in a 100% rise day, not screw up and sell anywhere along here and then have picked the correct minute to get out, and then it falls back down, plunging another 40% in just a couple of days. So in those things, you're going to have a hard time, right? Like, and that could always happen. And that could be how XRP ends, guys. It could. And, right, the simplest form, right, not financial advice, the simplest form is just like probably how most people get in, right? Dollar cost averaging in, dollar cost averaging out. And you pretty much have to kind of like theorize how you think it's going to go down. For me, like I genuinely think it's going to be like what we typically see, where it's, some 10, 20, 30, 40 day time period of things are really nutty, right? And if you've kind of come to the conclusion that, hey, look, it's like an official breakout, we're in the real nutty stuff, somebody may say to themselves, well, here's what I'm going to do. For the next 14 days, I'm going to sell 5% of my bag every day, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to sell the top, but it also doesn't mean you're going to round trip. And it just means you're going to kind of get the average of whatever the parabola ends up being, right? So it means you'll sell some at the top. You'll sell some too early, probably sell some too late. But, it kind of gets you an average in there and takes a little bit of that pressure off there. Because the thing that does concern me, at least about Bitcoin, is if it becomes a situation where it is the escalator up and then the elevator down. So, for any normal person, I think like once we're like in the hype, in the crazy, in the wildness, I think the simplest thing for most people, not financial advice, is to think about DCA out, right? Like very simple. Like, and for me, like it's not going to be like I'm selling 100% of my bag. Part of me wants to, because I think it's going to be nasty of what comes next. But there's always that remote chance, right? There's always that chance that I'm wrong, right? And the market keeps going. And to be fully sidelined for that and to miss that would be emotionally hard to swallow. But I could totally handle that. After holding things for many years and then selling 70% of my bag, and I got to lock in 70%, and, I just have 30% remaining, and that 30% either, goes tumble into the ground or it goes flying to the moon. It doesn't really matter to me. And I can emotionally handle that. And so I think about those things ahead of time when it comes to like my exit plans. Where's that number where I'm comfortable at, where I'm okay with it crashing, and I'm also okay that if I've sold way too early and it goes pumping to the moon, I'm not beating myself up either. And that's kind of a personal choice for literally everybody has their own number on what they can handle with that type of stuff. No, there is no one size fits all. It's kind of something to think about ahead of time. And unfortunately for a lot of people without experience, I'm never doing anything like that. You don't really know where that number is for you until you have done it already. I've done it multiple times, so I know that number. I know 65% easily works well for me, but this time it could be as high as 70, 75, 80. We could push those boundaries this time. So, okay, let me hop into the chat, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. If you could hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. It's the number one way to support the channel. Edit Undo says, at what XRP price do we get the BCB movie? Yeah. Trust me. Part of me is sitting back here thinking, oh my gosh, is this thing about to see the light of day? This thing took a year and a half to build out. I couldn't even tell you where we finished it at. I can't remember if we finished it in 2023 or if we finished it in early 2024, when we finished this thing. But the movie only made sense in the event that we broke out and we're in a new all-time high and we're in price discovery. It was the only way the movie ever made sense. So obviously, we got to break out into new highs. So once it's broken out into new highs, we'll show the movie. It's a tale of I don't want to spoil anything. It's like an 11-minute movie. Very well thought out. Lots of Easter eggs in there for people who have been around for a very long time. So once we break in the all-time high, I'll be excited to share that with you. And I hope it makes a deep emotional connection with you. That was the goal. Freedom for all. I'm only asking. Oh yeah, you'd asked for me to look into an altcoin. Okay. Thank you for the super chat, Freedom. Madison Medina. Hey BCB, longtime follower here, but I'm typically a lurker. But today I am home with my 4th newborn daughter, Willow Eve Misty Smith. Would you mind giving her a shout out? By the way, Wen Moon. All right, shout out to the baby, Willow Eve Misty Smith. And shout out to all babies that watch the channel. Madison, welcome home. Congratulations. 4. That's wild. Nope, not for me. Nope. Bangarang, thanks again for that. We talked about the DCA stuff. Time Place Collections, member for 18 months. Thank you very much. Night Shift, member for 18 months. Thank you. Says, I'm so excited and eagle-eyed for Pico Top. Boy, I hope we have it very, very clean. That's, you don't know why you're right here, but I go back and I study lots of tops, right? And I study structures to say, all right, these are things that I would definitely be looking for if they end up materializing. But if I just shared all of them, like it becomes, as a content creator, really, if this, then that, then this, then that, or this, or that, then maybe this, and then it just becomes, if one of them ends up playing out, which essentially calls everything, it's like, well, see, we talked about this. It's the art of BS. So, things that we obviously talked about in here is if we see those like 5 waves show up, like I showed over here over on Bitcoin, over here on XRP, if we get the actual real breakout happening, and then you go into a parabolic 5-wave advance, those would be things that I would be paying attention to really close. But until then, it's just kind of sitting back, waiting, and we're just kind of theorizing right now, waiting for that thing to bust out of there. We're in crypto week or anything. I don't know what the catalyst will be, right? Because I think it's like, here's like an obvious XRP catalyst that we're still like patiently waiting on is, yes, the Ripple lawsuit is done. Yes, all that stuff. XRP is now a security. It's listed on all exchanges. Yes, Ripple has dropped their appeals. But and so we're like right there at the end, but people know we're at like 99.9% of the end. We're not technically there because the SEC hasn't announced that they're dropping their appeals yet. So that still sits there, right? That's the last thing that officially closes the chapter. So the chapter is not technically closed. So you definitely have that here on the XRP price chart. But I also think it's just going to all move together, and it's going to happen upon a breakout of total, right? here. So it's going to all occur together. So while that catalyst does still sit there, I do wonder if that's going to be the type of catalyst that's going to be like the thing that just gets retailed by the top. We theorized about it for a long time in the depths of despair of, in the 40 cents and in the 50 cent levels, like, will the case come to an end at the top? You know what I mean? And how hard that would be, that there's people who have traversed this thing for years and, went through all of the difficult times, and that the day the case is finally over, that's the day it's like, okay, I'm done, right? But we all are very well aware of this market, and we know that bad news happens at bottoms, right? What did we have? We had the C leg. What happened on the C leg? Right here at the bottom, right? Here's where the U.S. goes after Iran officially. Here is Iran retaliating. Everybody on Twitter screaming WW3. That's the bottom, right? Like we always have bad news at the bottom. We have epic news at the top. And so it's just totally acting like a computer right now, emotionless. And fortunately for a lot of us who have been here for years, we're all dead inside anyway. So, not a problem. Okay. Bassem El Kadri, member for 8 months. Thank you. What is BCB strategy while market is up? Is it hodl always or use the ABC for new positions? And how do you do that? Right. I'm not an active day trader, right? So you have to find like an actual day trading channel looking for trades to be taking. I prefer to ride big stuff and hopefully I'm only making big decisions once a year or once every 2 or 3 years where big decisions end up getting made. With prices being up in here. I saw somebody ask about SWE too here in a minute. And like for me, buying SWE is a little scary, even though I think it's going to go much higher. It's just not for me for accumulating. We're so deep into it. But yeah, so like in your question for always hodl or use ABC, things like my taxes were very complicated for 2024. So in 2024, I did a lot of trading. So if you guys remember back in February, March, and April, when others was going into that retrace, I was saying like I'm selling stuff every day. When it finally became tax time, I kind of forgot how much had been done there and how many transactions had been done there. And so my accountant and I did all of the taxes and everything like that. And we even had to file an extension on my taxes. And finally, those just recently finally got done. And it was really a lot to do with crypto stuff on why an extension had to be filed. And I don't know everybody's situation on how well they're reporting their taxes, but it's a pain. It's a pain. It's another pain point on why don't love trading all that much. But yeah, for ABCs, right? As long as you have a context for why an ABC should be showing up on a wave count, right? It's really like once it's below the A wave's bottom point, that's really the place where I typically will just start going for it if I'm accumulating. Freedom for All says, oh man, almost forgot the like button. Thank you, brother. Degenerate Speculator says, HBAR and XLM are kicking some butt. XRP next, LFGO. Thank you, man. Robert Barker, member for 26 months, says, hey, BCB, what is your guess on ADA price targets? Also, can you say hello to my friend Stuart? He's a long-time lurker on the channel. Hey, Stuart, what's up, brother? You don't need to lurk. You could say what's up. That's cool that both of you guys watch. Like something you could share. That's crazy. It's like a community. ADA, with any of these assets, right? I genuinely have to think that if we go pumping, if the market gets nutty and it gets excitement, I genuinely have to think from a statistics standpoint. And that's the only way I can think. And it's just math. People love to ask, well, what about this? What about this? You're not taking this into consideration. This time is different, blah, blah, blah. And they'll phrase it differently and without saying this time is different, or you're not accounting for this, you're not accounting for that. And that messes up your calculations because you aren't thinking about this. It doesn't matter, right? So like with any of these assets, I have to think of what happened last cycle, right? So if you look back to the 2017 cycle, it was like 95% of cryptos absolutely crushed it, right? Like 70x, right? Like you just accumulated the top 10, you crushed it. In 2021, if you accumulated the top 10, your average was 13x, right? And that was really only contributed by a couple of the assets, right? It was, we went through the top 100 and it was only 20% of the top 100 touched or exceeded their all-time high. So that's very different, right? There's so many crypto assets in here. There's obviously with 2021, we can rationalize that and say, well, it's just because there's so many assets, there isn't enough liquidity to flow around to all of them. And that's the reason why. Fine. But only 80% were able to set new all-time highs. So through 2023 and 2024, the project for me was to figure out, okay, 20%, that's the number that I've got to try to beat, right? Or at least find what did the 80% have in common, or what did the 20% have in common, and try to change those odds for myself to, instead of only 20% setting new all-time highs, then maybe I can get 40 or 50%, or maybe if I'm really lucky, 60% can touch new all-time highs, right? Either way, having to beat what the market average is, whatever it ends up being at the end of the cycle. And so the whole project for pretty much the entire year was determining what were those what similarities did they have with each other. And a lot of those things ended up becoming developer activity, user activity levels, percentage drawdowns. I can't remember what else, brain farting here. And then like I went through and then like cross-referenced all of them and did all these things. Who has this in common? Who has that in common, right? What is it? What increases my statistical probability, right? And so having to think, all right, so my odds drastically improve. So like the top performing category, if you were like to throw, like let's say you were going to buy the top 20 assets by market cap, or if you were going to buy the top 20 by developer activity, or if you're going to buy the top 20 by percentage drawdowns, right? The number one category that had the best return was the top 10 by developer activity, and not just from a percentage standpoint, but the number of coins that were capable of setting new all-time highs in 2021. So that category ended up being the best performer. Still didn't have a 100% hit rate, right? Still like it was like 60% of them were able to set new all-time highs, being the best category versus the entire market average at 20%, or versus the top 20 by market cap average being 20% capable of setting new all-time highs, right? I think we got 7 out of the top 20. I don't want to try rattling them all off on my head right now. I'll miss some. But I think it was 7. And then from the top 30, the total was 20%, right? Excuse me. Yeah, it was from the top 30, we got 7. That's it. Not from the top 20. From the top 30, we got 7 that set or touched new all-time highs. But the category that did the best was top 10 by developer activity, even though they didn't have a 100% hit rate. So Cardano obviously being consistently in the top developer activity and a large community, it's, of course, statistics. Like, oh, that's good, because that mathematically was very important back in 2021. So if it only ends up retracing, right, and it doesn't go into a new all-time high, then that's only like $2.40 or so. But if it goes into new all-time highs, you start playing around with that $7, $8, $9, $10 level for Cardano as well. So it's all dependent on, does it have the exit velocity? Is it one of the ones that actually ends up escaping? If it ends up escaping, it's like being a 4.236 extension, right? Jake Fu show, if Bitcoin surges past your expectations to 150K plus, does that change your alt targets like XRP, BTC pairing, 4.236 extension? PS, you are a goat. Thank you. Yeah, if Bitcoin just starts ripping, right, and it goes like 200,000 or something like that, I obviously have to take a moment to step back and figure out what do I think is going on, because it would surprise me. I would have to spend time building a new thesis. Thank you, brother. Mario Hink. Thank you for the super chat. No message. Pew pew. Thank you for everything, BCB. Been with you since 2021, back when you did live every day. Yeah, in a bear market. You gave my wife a shout out on Valentine's Day back in 2023. Let's go. That's what wives always want. They need BCB messages for Christmas, for anniversaries, birthdays, and Valentines. Give the gift of love. Okay. Gito, could you please remind us of your TP targets for silver? Thank you, BCB. I don't even know if I really have TP targets for silver. But obviously monitoring the 4.236 extension of the massive 30-year range, right? That would be somewhere over I know I'd be taking some profit at, which I don't even know off the top of my head what that is. $192. But this isn't crypto, you guys. Like for a lot of you guys, and that's why meme coins are such the craze when they happen, because it's the instant extreme dopamine hit. Boy, you gotta be patient on metals. Patience. I mean, y'all are used to 4-year cycles. This is from 1980 to 2011. It takes 31 years to go back and touch the high. This has taken 14 years to go back and just hit the last retracement level. So this thing could just take a long, long, long time. For most people that get into crypto, one of the allurements of crypto is that it's the most volatile market in the world, both to the upside and to the downside, right? That like you don't have to wait decades for something to happen in this market. It's going to happen every couple of years, right? For people who happen to go from crypto to precious metals, it's just a totally different ball game. And you see it all the time because I watch a lot of these like coin channels, right, on YouTube and stuff, and how people will come in selling their gold because they're going to go buy Bitcoin or, you know, and things like that. Like people just, they enter into it with a much more shorter time frame for metals. So if you're not thinking, hey man, I'm gonna be holding on to this thing for 10 years, like I'm just gonna forget about it. And it's like, oh, I'm just going to do a quick flip on this thing. Man, it just doesn't work like that with metals. Mario Hink, hey, will you be guiding us through the Silver Bull run after this? Is the Silver channel in the works? Yeah, it's real hard to think about like exactly what things are going to look like after I think a top is in. I've talked about it. Like, we'll shift to probably fewer videos, but like the next project I want to work on is writing a book. And then what happens after writing the book, I have to figure that out, right? And like, does the channel stay looking the exact same? Does the channel format completely change? Like, do I invest in the channel and make it like totally new and upgraded and crazy, or what do we do? I don't really know. We've been doing it like this for 6 years. And, I would love to just write a book about this story, and I don't think I'll really make any money from writing a book. I really don't think so. I think you have to sell like a lot of copies. We're talking like 1 million copies of a book, and I don't think I could probably sell more than 30,000 copies of a book, and I don't think you make much money doing that. So the book is more of just kind of like a story of how crazy it was for me in this position through the years of being here, and a story for my kids to have and to know what it was like, because they grew up, have grown up knowing this is what I do. But, you know, to them, it's just totally normal. It's just every day. There's dad. He's BCB. That's it. That means nothing to them. And, you know, just having that story and it be out there permanently for forever. The hardships, the difficulties, the rewarding parts of it, what it was like, you know, sometimes during the hard times behind closed doors, what that was like. And that's the next project that I'm focused on, that I want to get to, where, you know, and we're just doing maybe 1 or 2 videos a week during that. What was your question? Oh, we're doing a silver jam. I don't think so. But also probably the channel content probably during that probably is a little bit more focused on much more broader things. I don't think I'll coming on. So, because here's what ends up happening during bear markets, right? This is what ends up happening. We'll go through this whole thing right in here, and there'll still be hope and optimism in the market throughout all that. That this is just a dip that's going to rip. And the crowd, the content creation, everything is still in the belief that it's not over. It's going to keep going. And so, like, sitting here making those videos, I'll just be chewed up and eaten by the crowd the whole time is what will happen. So, you know, we have to think about what we're talking about. And I think, like, life is just, we just got to get there, right? There's a certain aspect of it, of what you can try to predict and structures and things like that. But seeing exactly what the crowd's going to be like during that moment, don't really know. But hopefully silver's in like a massive bull run at that time. I'll be annoying. If crypto's falling, right, and we've entered into a bear market, but silver's mooning, Twitter won't like me. JJ Jacobson's Bitcoin went higher than the Friday. Well, I didn't think, you know, there was no number, right? If you noticed, it never really picked a number on where I thought this would stop at. It was just a breakout. You know, breakouts have to come to a conclusion. There's got to be some sellers that show up in here. No, we'll watch it at the time. You know, you're trying to nitpick the top, right? My best guess, like, we're in the zone, right? My thoughts on where the price would land, somewhere between 120 and 135. Technical measurement puts it like close to 132 to 134. And until we get there, right, you know, maybe the parabolic advance is more like this one, right? So this ends up being our peak, right? It doesn't really get much higher, 132 and much higher. It's only like $10,000 higher than that, right up in here, right? You could parabola build up to 132, 134, and then so. And I'm not married to it. I'm not going to get married to a price number up in here. I don't think we'll see 150. I don't think we'll see 145 or 140. I think this is probably the area that we're going to end up in here. But we'll watch it as the waves produce themselves. Freedom for all. All right, so I got to wrap this up in 5 minutes. And I'm 45 minutes behind on the super chats. So, guys, I'm going to fly. I can't pull up charts. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was going so slow. All right, I've got to fly. Well, we're going to do rapid fire. Thank you all for all your support. And I don't mean to jump over you with the super chats. Just the super chats were a lot today, and the chat's flying today, and it was just hard to keep up with it all, you guys. And if I missed, Edward Lang went crazy with all right, multiple 50 membership gifts, brother. Thank you, man. So, okay, here we go. We're going to fly. All right. Freedom for all BCB. Is there the fast way to see breadth of the market? Okay, yeah, let me show you. Hold on. I'll get you breadth. Hold on. I got to get moving, though. Oh, my gosh. How am I going to do this? Hold on. I'm doing it on another screen so I can bring it in. Here you go. Here you go, everybody. Frogs in the chat. Frogs in the chat. Breadth. Wide open. Let's go. Yeah, breadth is wide open. So there you go. I got to move fast. No, that was a custom built indicator. Johnny Tavares, cheers to the years of struggle. Let's all win. Let's all make a win. Thank you, brother. Edward, of course, man, he came in like crazy. Ben, are you loaded up on fuck? Okay, this is like trolling at this point. Arm Day, I'm seeing a lot of posts on Twitter on the M2 money supply chart. Bitcoin looks like somewhat following along, but it shows price targets of close to 182K. What are your thoughts? I think the people who even like follow that say don't follow the price targets on that. Edward Lang, brother, thank you again. He was very generous. Zakaria Nagi, hey BCB, will Matic be able to make a new high? I don't know if any of these L2s, they're going to have to wake up. It's going to have to be some crazy, weird L2 run, unless they're just retraces. Handicappers, handicappers. Do you think alts will go into the Bitcoin retrace? Also, Cardano Moon good. LOL seems slower. Hard to imagine it hitting 4.236 this time frame. Cheers. Do you think alts will go into a Bitcoin retrace? I don't know yet. So that his question is pretty much pertaining to what we typically see a lot when we see market cycle tops. That right in here, right? You have the initial top fall and then retrace both in 2017 and 2021 bull runs. We see the altcoin market still continuing to rampage into this moment. That's what his question is. I don't know. Like, I want to, of course, just sit here and say, yeah, that's what always happens. But I'm going to be monitoring it closely. Like, if XRP is hitting its 4.236 extension on its market cap and like SWI is hitting the 4.236 extension at the exact same time, I'm going to be thinking no. I'm going to think we have the confluence. So for me, there's going to be multiple confluence things I'm watching for at the same time. Mohammed Fulwatts, help us BC backer Kenobi, you're our only hope. Thank you, brother. And then Edward Lang, after all the memberships, they gifted a very generous super chat, says thanks for all you do BCB. I truly appreciate your hard work and dedication. I'd love your thoughts on ADA USD in the form of a very short-term squiggle, if you wouldn't mind. There's just nothing. The guys, they're gonna all break out together, right? Like that's the thing about this market. And it's, of course, made me more pessimistic about the market overall in general when we have to talk about breadth, right? Because we just clearly see it, like all these pictures are all macro tied together. The squiggle for ADA would simply be the same squiggle as for XRP. The second this thing pops out, I'm betting ADA is popping out, which is the exact same time this thing is popping out. So I could draw squiggles on ADA and it would just be like all of this stuff up in here, but the reality is the second that goes, ADA is going to go and XRP is going to go at the same time, is my speculation. So no, if I drew a squiggle, I would literally put as much effort into it as that. So, we're just the truth there, buddy. And you're very generous, man. I always appreciate it, buddy, but that's how accurate I would feel about it. Nazario Navarro, any thoughts on RSI showing negative divergence on the 3-day, weekly, monthly, quietly on Bitcoin, XRP, and whatever altcoins? No, I don't have any thoughts on that. I think we're on the verge of craziness. You may be seeing it on Bitcoin if it's building its topping parabola, though, right? That would make perfect sense. Simple. Thank you very much. Hey, BCB, thoughts on the XRP BTC retest in the 2017 fractal with a deeper pullback? If BTC top is in October after 1 month of rate cuts, it seems a bit too soon to break out. I don't know if we're going to make it all the way to October, you guys. I don't know if the crypto market's going to make it all the way there. No particular thoughts on XRP BTC short term, right? I think it's when it breaks, we're on the verge of breakout for XRP. That thing's going to go to. I'm looking for 4.236 extensions on it as well. Andreas, hey BCB, I looked at the newsletter. And you refer to September 17th and then state XRP could retrace to $8 to $10. In 2017, this was the case. December, please elaborate. You refer to September 17th and then state that XRP could retrace to $8 to $10. In 2017, this was the case in December to January 2008. Please elaborate. I'm confused. Could race. Understand why you refer to September 17th and then state that XRP could race to $8 to $10. I'm confused what you're asking. So even I am confused. I'm sorry. I don't understand. I don't understand why you refer to September 17th and then state that XRP could race to $8 to $10. In 2017, this was the case from December to 2008. Please elaborate. I don't see the conflict in what you're saying unless I'm not understanding what you're saying. I appreciate the super chat though. I'm sorry, I'm just as confused as you are. Tony Wen, hey BCB, you mentioned most alts will only retrace. Is the 80 chart showing strength for new all-time high? Thanks, bud. Right. You don't really know until we get into the thick of the moment. And the perfect example of that in 2021 was Ethereum Classic. We could probably go through the top 7. I mean, that would be a good project for anybody to like just mess around with charting, to go make a chart, include Bitcoin, and then just start adding coins to a chart and start looking at it and go back to a moment in time and include the ones that went into all-time highs. And I'm scared to say them all because I know I'm going to miss some. I just don't remember off the top of my head. I know it was like VeChain, Tron, Cardano, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Binance Coin, and Ethereum Classic, and Doge. Boom, I got them all. Harris, my bro. That's how you get knocked out, bro. David EZ. Harrison, are you expecting the XRP to have a hard correction similar to Bitcoin once its peak dropped into $2? Yes, why would it not? Okay, I'm so far behind. I got to go fast. Are you expecting XRP to have a hard correction similar? Yes. Okay. Yes. However, hey BCB, according to a live Wave XRP looks weak and it's not bold enough for new all-time highs. Thoughts? Okay, cool. Bulldog 589 5 BCB memberships. Thank you, brother. Stellar Hash. Who are all these guys saying don't sell your XRP? Leverage your assets because XRP won't be available. I'm holding it back long term, but daddy needs to get paid. Yeah, brother. Cameron Vaughn, thank you very much. 15 months morning timeline wise. You looking at Fed meeting September to be the end. Congress is on vacay in August, so no crypto bill can be signed. Hard to know what the specific narrative will be, but I don't see how we like this lasts for like 6 months or something like that. New Wave Consulting, what percentage of XRP bag will you sell if it hits 4.236 extension on the market? You said something before, but I may have missed it. New video, it's changed. Also, I appreciate all your content, especially in a bear. Probably 70%. Bartlett Pollock, thank you very much, man. Hey, BCB, huge fan for years. I get the FIB extension. But how does the top of XRP not change when the real thesis for Bitcoin was a distribution top in March 2024? Thanks for everything. Yeah, that doesn't matter. The price target stays the same. Travel Hunger. Hey, BCB, what would be a conservative target for CFP? I don't follow that coin. You'll have to ask the people who talk about that one. Low Ryan 52. I think the top will be in when Congress bans themselves. It is a perfect time for them to go ahead. It's a perfect time for them to go ahead and ban themselves. We are no longer allowed to own stocks. Due to the lack of frog, I'm chipping in to cover fees for playing the frog. Come on, folks, we need more greenbacks in our lives, guys. I'm so far behind. I can't even play the frog. Galactic Federation news. What do you think of Ford? I think Ford's going to be one of the ones to jump like GE and like Roblox. Rodrigo. Hey, BCB, could alt season come in 2 waves, one now, 1 year end? No, I think we've already seen the first one. Yeah, and that's all it was. Also, can you cover top alts, especially their TA for those of your Substack picks? I think that's going to be more when we get near the end that I'll be doing more of that. And Mr. Fraser, you should put the movie out during a live stream so we can all watch it for the first time together. Again, thanks for everything. Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna release it. I think I'm just gonna release it in movie format. A guy with 3 first names. Can't wait to see what alt season looks like. Thank you, brother. Member for 24 months. Crypto Kev. Hey, BCB. I know you talked about Ethereum being in accumulation a few weeks ago. Do you think it's destined for retracements this run or new highs? As always, thank you for everything. Yeah, I don't have time to go extremely into Ethereum, right? But like we've talked a lot about this. This is a crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We talked about this being a lot like C19 for Bitcoin back in 2020. And when it comes to the actual range that has ended up happening for here, come on. Right? I mean, it's just kind of perfect in here, right? That everybody's mocking it. Ethereum, right? And then now, of course, it's recovering in here. So, I mean, it could have a 4.236 extension. The thing I'm more worried about with Ethereum being able to get all the way out there is just how much time. I just don't think there's a ton of time in here. So maybe Ethereum doesn't really do a whole lot until we actually do get over here. But I think most altcoins will be well done by the time this happens. That there's not going to be some multi-6-month pause or something like that that ends up providing that. All right. Daniel, hey, BCB, does XRP RSI need to cool before the run? It's totally dependent on Bitcoin, guys. It's totally dependent on Bitcoin. You're back in the retrace levels. It could totally just stall out here and chill and wait for the bigger trigger to happen. It's going to be, in my opinion, it is going to be a trigger. It is not going to be some slow grind out of here. There's going to be something that explodes it out. And it's going to be macro forces throughout all crypto when it happens. Could be today, could be at the end of the week, could be next week, week after. But it'll be something where I joke about it. I say, a lot of people look for their mom to tuck them in at night and scratch their back and give them a warm glass of milk, read them a story, and sing a lullaby to them to the bed to have things just slowly grind. And that's just not how this one works. This one says, screw your feelings, and then suddenly, boom. Yeah, so Celestia, so you said talking about Celestia, you mentioned a year ago, but Swee's the one who took off. What market cap fib do you think Tia can reasonably reach? Shout out to all the babies. To you, PCP, for your voice. Yeah. So when we were talking about that bottom coming in back in, I guess, September, right? September of 2024, right? We were looking at all the similarities. Obviously, it was, who were we using? We were using Solana versus Celestia versus Sui. And Sui obviously did exactly that, and Celestia did not. So, right? Celestia, probably just a retrace. Guire, member for 8 months. Do you think the likes of your Algo, Avex, Atom, Dot, Arpol, Lopac are really going to struggle to push past the retracements since they're behind? I don't own Algo. Are really going to struggle to push past the retrace? I'm unlikely. Right, just statistically speaking, unlikely. And if one of them does, hip hip hooray. Jack, member for 44 months. Almost 4 years, man. Happy Wednesday. Let's go Frog Song at double speed. That we might have to. Barclay Games, anything, thoughts and speculations for Cardano? Boy, we get Cardano a lot, don't we? I moved some of my XRP there recently to take advantage of both assets in this bull cycle. Cool. We cover it like every week, guys. Just go back and watch the last live stream and the 30 questions about Cardano. Reflected Digital. Hey, BCB, let's go, man. Thanks for all you do. Just saying hi. Brother, thank you, dude. Appreciate the generosity. And hi. Chris Cushman, member, super chat. Thank you very much. This is LOL. We're all dead inside anyways. Yeah, right. Night Shift. Legit, if XRP continues to follow 2017 prime time interval and price percentages matches 2017 action, we're looking at a possible high of 32 area. I don't think we're going that high. I feel it's possible, but I don't expect it. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Barclay Games, thank you for the ADA info. I appreciate realism rather than conspiracy theories and unrealistic XRP $10,000 targets. Yeah. You have to understand in the content creation game, right? What gets the most clicks, what gets the most views, outrageous price targets and price predictions, right? That's part of the, why so many thumbnails, $1,000, $500, crazy stuff to make your mind go crazy and think, wow, what if? What if? Let me hear their argument because, man, what if? But CM, what XRP is your main sales bag? Why is XRP is your main sales bag among all crypto? Why is XRP your main sales bag among all crypto? God, it'd be a long story. I don't have time. But, well, and the narrative changed over the years, right? What it was in the beginning and what it was halfway, and then it being, obviously very undervalued at that time with the SEC stuff and being like, well, it's discounted because it's in a crud zone, right? It's in a difficult moment, and massive community and things like that. But at this point now, right, we're getting way up there, right? So it's gonna get reduced. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, are you still confident about your target at 88? You guys realize y'all's behavior make it so I never talk about any coins ever. I'm not doing it for the rest of the cycle. When people want like altcoin coverage and stuff like that, I know not to do it. Sam Hellman, sir, invalidation for this next phase. Yeah, like if Bitcoin suddenly dropped to $105,000 or something like that, I would think something's not right. Mark C, member for 3 months. You still think Great Depression will occur after the cycle? Looking at everyday lives, it kind of feels like it already, to be honest. Yeah, well, I think you're seeing that in the. What's really interesting too is measuring the Dow Jones Industrial Average in silver. It's like it's been in a bear, just in general. Like the middle class, the people who don't own assets, right? Like the people who don't own houses, the people who don't own 401ks or things like that. They've been really left behind by society. I mean, especially the younger generation. I thought mine had it really rough when it came to that, when I came into adulthood and got out of college, that we went right into the great financial crisis, and things were just really tough for like 6 years, right? 5 years. And but now this kind of generation right now of the last 5 years, they're just left behind from inflation and stuff like that. So they can't afford anything. And it's the exact same scenario of like you're losing your job. I don't have time to go into full explanation on understanding how inflation is the exact same thing as a crash for those who in that position. If you don't own assets and inflation pushes everything up, well, great. The people who have those things make money. But everybody who doesn't have anything, this is the exact same thing as if all the people who had money, it crashing. For them, things going up is a crash. And we'll have to go into that in a long format another time. Zachariah says, BTC, how's your family member doing after the ChatGPT diagnosis, sending love and prayers? Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. I'm not going to really get into it, but it's very consuming. My life is very busy. I typically don't see my wife 5 days a week right now. So it's hard. Oscar Hernandez, and my kids don't either, so it's hard. Oscar Hernandez, let's hit the like, okay? Thank you, Oscar. Sent a BCB membership. My brother, thank you. Rob G, been with you since 2020, BCB. Thank you for being part of my journey and for helping me navigate these markets during difficult times. Thank you, Rob G. Thank you, man. Zane says, my girlfriend's mom has a huge XRP bag. Cool. TTC, have you checked the Bitcoin over Euro chart? Still below the all-time high. I haven't. Thank you, man. Mr. Arnold, many are in crypto for wife-changing wealth. See, that's the great thing, man. It doesn't matter. I got a good wife, man. My wife's a bomb. Stefanescu Dragos, not wanting to flood the chat with Moonboyism, but could you paint a scenario where the top of Bitcoin is later and higher, 250 to 300K? No, I don't want to do it. I have too many trolls. Like when you get to this, like it's really a bizarre thing, but when you get to this number of followers, you have very, very, very dedicated trolls who make dozens of accounts. There's one guy on Twitter who's had over like 30 account suspensions because he's fully dedicated. And so he takes things out of context and tries to paint different pictures and things like that. And so if that ever happened, of course, he would just be with his 40 different accounts going crazy on it. So I'm not interested. Andrew Handelsman, I haven't super chatted in a while. I just wanted to say hi, man. It's been fun. Andrew, brother, thank you, man. Oh my gosh, I caught up. All right, I got to go. Guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and I'll give it to you, but I don't have time.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, dudes.
Okay. Moving along. John says, you rule, man. Thanks for everything. Thank you, brother. All right. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Sorry, I'm wrapping it up super fast because I went 20 minutes over. I can't do that. JB Estrada BCB, want to wish you a happy birthday. Thank you. We're so close to the end. I can't wait for the celebration party. Well done. Steaks and new EVs. Oh, boy. All right. I got it. JB, thank you. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out the newsletter over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. It was posted yesterday. All right, let's see if I can remember my outro. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like the live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.